I said I could be.
That's the.
It doesn't matter.
Backseat forever.
Yeah. Isn't it like 13 years old, right? I think it's 13.
My mom's always in the front seat.
Same with me, though.
There, but the next one, the next. Second front seat. Long.
Oh, yeah. Not much. Not anything more than that.
Great program.
I feel very bad. I need to up my. Yeah. I've been lax the past few weeks. $400 a day because I think I was looking down for lights for about your day. So he's ready to go. It's like, hey, that's we're good to go. All right. You know, Thomas. I'll call the December 16th City Council meeting to order. Our last meeting of the year. Last meeting with Carol. We will miss her greatly.
After 350 meetings on the first and third Monday, I might do something different. It's well more than that with all of the work.
Special meetings. Every 2 weeks for many years. Yeah.
Adds up.
It does. I call the roll.
Abby Hansen, John Hawkins,
Here.
Megan McFarland, here, Matt McKinney,
Here.
Logan Welch.
Here. Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
For promotion to approve the agenda. All those in favor say aye. Item 1 is petitions, communications and requests. This is the time of the meeting that a citizen may address the council on a motion not on the agenda. Matter not on the agenda. Except in cases of emergency, the city council may take any action at this meeting, but may ask city staff to research the matter or have the matter placed on the agenda for a future meeting. Anyone have anything for us? No? All right, we'll go to minutes, claims, reports, licenses and requests. The following items have been deemed uncontroversial routine actions to be approved by the council in a single motion. If a council member or the member of the audience wishes to have an item removed from this list, will be considered on its normal sequence on the agenda. I have item A, minutes of December 2nd for the regular council meeting. B is claims, including payroll entering November 30th and the fund list. C is reports on the wastewater, electric, water for November. D is the police department activity report for November. E is the fire department report for November. F is the outdoor swimming pool report.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. The item you have before you is the outdoor swimming pool report. And I'm just going to give a brief summary of what we have written for you here. During the 2024 season, the pool was open for 75 days between June 3rd and August 16th. On average, we strive to be open for 77 days throughout the season. The outdoor pool hours were Thursday through Tuesday, 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Wednesday from 11 to 7. For the outdoor pool to fully operate, we require 9 full-time lifeguards on duty. During a typical season, we normally have 2 shifts throughout the day, requiring a total of 18 full-time lifeguards. In the 2024 season, we only had 10 full-time lifeguards, and those lifeguards worked every day of the week. This staff challenge is why the pool had shortened hours this season. The outdoor swimming pool offers various programs to the public, such as aquasize, 2 classes of aqua tots, 1 class for 6-month to 2-year-olds, and the second class for 3 to 4-year-olds. 2 sessions of the American Red Cross public swimming lessons. Aquasize had 15 to 20 participants. Aqua tots had 15 participants, and the first session of public swimming lessons had 50 participants, and the second session had 26. All of the programs we offer at the outdoor pool are taught by our lifeguards and water safety instructors. The outdoor pool sold 143 family passes, 41 adult season passes, and 112 youth passes, totaling season passes sold at 296. Over the season, we recorded 1,766 daily admission entries with a total of 8,417 visitors throughout the 2024 season. For the 2024 year, the outdoor pool generated $38,968.58 in admission revenue and $2,617.75 in net concession income, resulting in a total revenue of $41,586.33. The total budget for the outdoor pool is $181,337, which includes payroll expenses. Overall, our 2024 pool season was very successful, and we have already begun planning and recruitment of lifeguards for our 2025 season. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you for that. Good to have a thorough update on this. I appreciate it.
So very good.
Thank you.
Can I ask?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. There's just two questions that I think the council asked about earlier this year. And I thought that now would be a nice time to get Brianne's feedback on it. The first was, I think there was an inquiry about the accessibility of the pool for low to moderate income children or families who are trying to access the facility. Can you maybe speak to a little bit about programs or funding that they have accessible to them? And then secondly, and with the pool hours, if we receive feedback about sort of the impacts, the shortened, what would it take to bring back those hours?
Yep. So for the low to moderate income, we have a program set up with UDMO. The family goes to UDMO and applies there. And if they are accepted by UDMO, UDMO will pay for 1/3 of the cost of a season pass. Fuller Hall will pay for 1/3 of the cost of the season pass. And then the family is responsible for 1/3 of the season pass. So we do have that program set up, and that is for all recreation, swimming lessons, everything. We have that partnership. And then what was the second question? I'm sorry.
If you know, we did receive some questions from the public about the reduced.
To have 2 shifts. For lifeguard to go from 1 o'clock to 7 o'clock is a very long time in the heat and sun. So that is why for 6 days of the week, we went down to a 4-hour shift instead of a 6-hour shift. So if we have enough lifeguards, even if it's not 18, but say we have 14 full-time and we have subs that will be willing to work and we can figure out that schedule, we would definitely lengthen the hours back to 7 o'clock. So.
Question to delay your
Manual.
meeting. I just don't want Carol to leave. So the any capital upgrades that are needed at the pool?
Yes, so in the future, we will be needing to replace the filtration system, which we run a rapid sand filtration system. We have 3 different filters that we have to care for. They were last replaced in 2003. And normally they last anywhere around 15 to 20 years. And the inside, the bladder on the inside is now gone. So now we just have a steel frame that has chlorine water, things like that going through it. So it's slowly going to possibly rust out. So we do have that project in our CIP. We have reconditioning our turbine pumps. We have 2 of those that have to be reconditioned every 5 to 7 years, more likely 7. And we'll be hitting that in a couple of years also, because we want to definitely recondition them before we have an issue with them. Another thing that we'll possibly have is a new heater for our pool. That was also installed in the early teens. They only have a certain lifespan that they last also. So all of this is in just preparation of possibilities of needing to replace. Also the pool slide, we just did a project a couple years ago with the flume and the sandblasting of the structure. That is also in our CIP, hoping that we don't have to replace it, but it's also just hey, this is a just in case item, in case something happens with the structure. So those are the main larger expenses that we may foresee with the pool. The filtration system for sure in the next couple years.
Well, the sandblasting and that of the slide was only to get a few more years.
Yes, and it's supposed to get, I want to say it's supposed to get anywhere from 10 to 15 more years. But it's just one of those things, it's a very corrosive environment, and I mean, it's exposed to the elements all year round, so it's just one of those things that I like to have it in there so that you can see, like, this could be a possible price that we would have to pay for something in the future. All right, thank you.
Dan, very good. G is a recommended approval for issuance of beer and liquor licenses by the Iowa Department of Commerce for the following renewal of Class B retail alcohol license for Hy-Vee Fast and Fresh Express at 819 Second Street.
Move to approve collectively.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
3, general agenda. Public hearings 6:05. Public hearing on plan specifications, proposed form of contract and estimate of costs for construction of the 2025 Fairmeadow Drive reconstruction project. I will open the hearing. Are there any written objections?
I received no written objections.
Are there any oral objections?
No oral objections.
I'll close the hearing. Okay, Brandon.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So yeah, we had a very good pool. We actually had 70 plan holders for the bid letting. Take a look with 5 contracting companies bidding on the project. Lowest bid came in at $1,602,379,016. We actually got a really good price on this project. The lowest bidder stated in the memo came in $739,622.84 under the engineer estimate. I think that's we started talking about this in May, and I think getting the bid out early and you guys allowing us to do that, working with Schneider Associates, I think that helped a lot with also the market that the contractors are looking to bid on projects right now. Speaking of Castor Construction, who was the lowest bid, they have done a lot of projects for us in the recent past. Some of them include the Betsy Lane reconstruction project a couple years ago, Fairmeadow Drive reconstruction project. And then they did subcontracting work for Lincoln Drive, the 21 and 22 or 21 and 22nd Street reconstruction project. So we're very familiar with their work. They do very good work. We work well together. And Schneider also speaks very highly of them also. As far as the schedule for this project, you're looking at a construction start date of May 5th with the conclusion sometime in November.
A resolution approving and confirming plan specifications, formal contract, estimate of costs for the 2025 Fairmeadow Drive reconstruction project, and awarding contract to Castor Construction, Fort Dodge, Iowa, in the amount of $1,602,379.16, and committing necessary funds to complete the project.
I move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Okay. And B is a public hearing on plan specifications, proposed form of contract and estimate of costs for construction of the Brewer Street and Wilson Avenue improvement project. I'll open the hearing. Are there any written objections?
No written objections received.
Any oral objections?
No oral objections.
I'll close the hearing. Over to you, Brent.
All right, this one, we also had quite a few plan holders. We had 45 on this project, and we had 4 construction companies bid on the project. This project, just to kind of summarize what it is, I know we have a lot of projects going on. So the north side of Brewer Street will be mill and fill asphalt. The south side from the bridge going to the south up the hill will be asphalt with concrete curb and gutter. And up on Brewer Street, in between Wilson and Des Moines, will be new water infrastructure that's going to be replaced there. So that's going to be that's a pretty big project for us, especially by the school. There's a lot of traffic in that area. Nels Pedersen came in $179,874 under the engineer estimate. However, they were $10,428 above on the bid alternate. We have also worked with Scott Pedersen. Scott Pedersen has worked with the city as long as I can remember when I started, for over 20 years. Scott's a very great guy and we speak very highly on his work. last year with the Fairmeadow, this year with the Fairmeadow project, it was a very complex project working with the private utilities. There was a lot of utilities in the right of way that he had to work around. It was very stressful for him, but he handled it wonderfully, and I think he could do a great job on Brewer Wilson as well.
I call for resolution confirming final plan specifications, formal contract and estimate costs for the Brewer Street and Wilson Avenue improvement projects, and awarding contract to Nell Peterson of Badger, Iowa, in the amount of $979,577 for the base bid and $33,388 for the bid alternate, and committing necessary funds to complete the project.
Yeah, I apologize if I could interrupt you there. I did not mention the bid alternate. The bid alternate is South Street from Des Moines Street going towards, on South Street from Des Moines Street going east towards Quick Star. So that currently it's a gravel road, which will be asphalt.
I did, I guess, I wondered, it's two houses. And I don't know, I've been waiting to get my road out in Industrial Park paved for quite a few years, and it's a through road.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I put my bid in for the future. Maybe we might get sealed road out that way.
You said
Anyway,
that's
but
asphalt, you said
it's
going to be asphalt?
Yes.
some stage we've got to get it covered. So,
Yep.
and
Yep.
we're below budget. So
Yep.
I see nothing wrong with it.
I move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Brandon.
Yep.
C is a resolution authorising the street department supervisor to enter an agreement between the City of Webster, City, Iowa and the Iowa Department of Transport for surface transportation block grant program federal paid swap funds under 761 Iowa Administrative Code, Chapter 162.
And Brandon, when you're done with your comments, I just had a couple on.
Yep. So this is just reaffirming the budget numbers for this project. This is the block grant money we are getting. So it's 80-20 match. As you can see in the memo, we will be receiving $966,500. The city will match $250,000. As part of this project, you will see full depth concrete patching on Beach Street. This is going to go from where the Second Street project ended, kind of at the alley between Second and First. Then it will head south towards, I guess, Iowa Central Community College area right there. So any type of concrete that is in tough shape, broke, sunk, that will all be addressed, as well as storm sewer intake improvements, manhole adjustments, and most important, when we did the sidewalk study and the ADA, those will all be addressed. With kids traveling back and forth on that road and people walking, we feel it's very important to address that while we are there. And it's required by the federal regulations. So this project is required to be bid through the Iowa DOT and follow their bid procedures. This has an early start construction date of May 5th and an end construction date of October 31st.
Just a couple comments on really all three of these projects that you've gone through. I just mentioned the financing. All these three were funded in the sales tax fund that the city council approved as part of this year's budget. The Fairmeadow 2 is planned to be funded with general obligation debt that will be issued. Brewer Wilson will be funded with cash reserves from the sales tax, or what you guys have referred to as the CIP fund. And then the Brewer Wilson, the Beach Street and grant funds will be funded by a mixture of sales tax and then mostly 80% the federal funds that are coming in. And then did you want to just follow up and mention about the easement we spoke about a couple of weeks ago and how that was resolved at night? Is it Wilson Brewers? Yeah.
So talked to Ryan, associates, and followed up on the driveway or the two parking stalls. Biggest thing he was worried about is not having some sort of a concrete wall. As far as an insured, it has liability, somebody tripping and falling. Schneider and Associates did confirm through Topo survey that would not be required. So Ryan did say that he would be willing to sign the easement if that wasn't required. So.
And we were talking like double, like almost like rail car.
Yes. So
to the north
So
side.
I
of
want
the
to say
property.
this, cars would, let's say they turn off of Wilson and heading west, they would be nose to tail on the south side, closest to, the 1919 route.
Okay, cool. Yeah, good.
But the good thing about that option was that it did get the front of the property curbed, as I believe was the council's desire.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah, that was.
expected,
Yep.
sort of in anticipation of this project, so.
We should look at putting a crosswalk somewhere on that Beach Street.
Beach Street.
We've talked about it for quite a few years here. Seems we're
Yeah,
working,
close to the, I know that was. brought
whether it's a
up.
high school or it's
Here it
Sunday.
is.
Yes, up there by the daycare. That was.
Yeah,
Was that, John, was that part of that survey, or not the survey, but the study?
It
I
was.
wonder if it was. Yeah,
but it's gone around a few years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and to kind of piggyback off of this, John and I also have been discussing a future project that ties in sidewalk on the west side of Beach Street. And so, that would maybe also tie into this. We can do
So
something.
we really wanted to include that as part of this project, but with the federal funds, I think the local transportation group and John didn't believe that they could be combined. But what we're proposing is that the sidewalk, at least where it's disconnected, be connected in along Beach from roughly, would it be Superior to Ohio? Is that correct?
No.
You're thinking.
You're thinking.
I'm sorry, second to Ohio, on Beach.
I know
So that'd be,
on the west side,
yes,
because we were talking at first just to, just going to, were we going to sector, or were we going to bank?
It was bank, but.
Yeah,
Okay.
we were to bank, but we want to continue to go.
Because you have to cross over. Yeah, because you can walk the sidewalk, but you have to cross over. Yeah, done it 100,000 times.
but in accordance with sort of your idea on the crosswalk, is that another feature of this project that you'd like to see completed?
Well, it's just something, when we go to remarket or something, we should mark.
I know there's been talk of getting a sidewalk off of Beach Street to, what's the park right behind?
Lions.
Lions Park. So if you did get a sidewalk that crossed there at the daycare in Mary Lane, they could take that sidewalk over to the park. I mean, I know that was talked about years and years ago, but.
I think the safe route to school, there's a light there, like a crosswalk with a
You
flashing
can hit
light.
a button and then.
Like a button.
Indicator that there's people wanting to cross.
Yeah, we can definitely dive into that.
Well, for resolution to do the item C is authorizing the street department supervisor enter into an agreement between the city of Webster, City, Iowa and the Iowa Department of Transportation for surface transportation block grant program, federal aid swap funds under the 761 Iowa Administrative Code, Chapter 162.
Move to approve.
Second.
In favor, say aye.
Aye.
And then D is a resolution authorizing the street department supervisor to sign and execute amendment number 34 with the Snyder and Associates to provide professional services for on-call priority 2025-2026 water main repairs and sewer rehabilitation project.
Yeah, so this is kind of a yearly project that we try to take care of the worst first, whether it be with the sanitary sewer and water main. So every year we have portions of our sanitary sewer collection system televised. We have like roughly 40,000 feet that we can view each year. Once we view that footage, we take note of any offsets, voids, clay pipes that are just crumbled just over time. And so we've taken priority and fixed, if we can slip line them to save money, we can do so. If not, we'll have to do what we call spot repair. Then as part of this project, with the water side of things, we valve exercise all of our valves in town. I think what I say we had 475 valves in them. So we valve exercise in the spring and the fall, and we also exercise our hydrants by flushing spring and fall. There's over 1,300 of those, and so anytime we have any issues with those, we create a list, and the ones with the most severity and need replaced, we take note of that and get it on a list. Typically, we do these on separate projects, on their own project. But what we've seen in the past is the bigger the project, the better we can get for a price. And so we've lumped the two together to create a bigger project. We're hoping to get a good price for that as well.
Call for a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
I would like to say congratulations to Carol on behalf of all of us at the street department. Been very helpful to all of us and wish you the best and congratulations. So.
Okay, item E is the motion authorising purchase of Taser 10, 13 tasers and training package from Axon for the police department. Evening, McKenny.
Evening, Mayor, Council. We are requesting to use speed camera revenue to purchase new tasers. Our current tasers are several years beyond their warranted use and no longer supported by the manufacturer. Only 2 of our tasers currently function as they should with the interface. Tells us important information while using the taser. Taser 10 is the most effective and newest option on the market, increasing range to 45 feet, allowing more space and time to de-escalate and resolve conflicts. Common problem we've had and law enforcement has with tasers is there's only 2 probes that come out at a time. The farther you are away, the bigger the spread at whatever angle that they are. The new tasers, Taser 10, has 10 separate shots. So each trigger pull is a cartridge that comes out, and it only utilizes the 2 best connections. So you're not getting extra by shooting extra. You're just getting the 2 best connections, but better accuracy with a single laser on those. Taser 10 also gives an audible and visual warning when turned on, which has proven to de-escalate without actually needing to fire the taser. 13 Taser 10s to be purchased from Axon. Axon is really the only option we have. We didn't get extra bids for that, but that would be in the amount of $33,022.96. That includes the tasers, holsters. A representative from Axon will come down and train us for 2 days, and all training equipment, a suit we can wear to train with, and all training cartridges will be supplied with that $33,000. They are warranted for 5 years. We also get within that bundle, anything we use will get replaced. Anything that's broken would get replaced. And after the 3 year, after the 3 years, I think we would have enough in our first 3 years of training material to continue to train for probably 2 years while they're still warranted. We would have the option to purchase up front or do yearly installments for 3 years of just over $11,000.
Who has to be in the training? You gotta actually shoot somebody.
You volunteered me.
Thank you, Les.
They talk to John.
Need to do that.
Those things are gone.
I was hoping for a demonstration.
You don't actually feel it, but you can at least be shot.
Really? You don't, it doesn't, it just kind of.
They're like a Velcro,
Really?
just for training.
We're gonna need to get that past Beth before you.
No, I mean, it's interesting to hear that you only have 2 in like fully operation right now, right? Like 2 of your units are actually working.
They
as each-
will all work. It's just the
Yeah.
interface. You
Yeah.
can't. So it tells you what cartridge you have selected. It gives you a countdown. Because they can only be shot for 5 seconds. They shut off automatically, but it would tell you each time your countdown. And it tells you all the errors, anything you would have in there.
So-
Very light.
So in essence, you're kind of rolling the dice without that interface, right? Like you don't really know the status of the weapon.
Yeah, if there's an error, we wouldn't know it.
Cool. Oh, very interesting. And again, if we're using the right funds for it, you know, the revenue from the speed cameras, it's in the right bucket there. So I have no issues.
Call for motion.
I move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item F is a resolution authorising the mayor to execute and sign the subordination agreement with WCF, Webster City Financial Bank, Webster City, Iowa, related to city existing mortgages on lots 22, 23, 28, and 29 in Brewer Creek Estates number 6, Saman LC.
So, Saman LC executed a mortgage with Webster City for the lots stated 22, 23, 28, 29. They have also received funding from WCF Financial Bank to complete the home builds for those 4 lots. The houses are well underway. So WCF is just asking that the city takes the junior on the loan, second line. So I'm just asking you to adopt a resolution authorizing and be executed and signed.
Move to approve.
Second. Aye.
Item G is a resolution amending resolution number 2024-115 pertaining to fees adopted July 1st and amended under resolution 2024-177 and to amend electrical permit fees and implement re-inspection fee.
So back on December 2nd, I came before you to amend the current fee schedule for the electrical permit fees. On the same day, I had heard from a couple contractors that they felt that with us adopting the same fees as the state of Iowa, they recommended that we actually adopt fee for reinspection of electrical as well. So I'm just back in front of you to again amend that ordinance or that fee resolution to include that $25 reinspection fee per reinspection.
Call for motion.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Item H is a resolution accepting and approving minor subdivision plat of Bruceman Second Edition, Hamilton County, Iowa.
So this is just a resolution. Council approves all minor subdivisions. This did go in front of planning and zoning on December 9th, and they recommended the approval. The property is going east out of town over on 220th Street, and they are just separating the farmland. So they're dividing it amongst the family. So this is just a recommendation to approve the minor subdivision.
Move to approve.
Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Item I is first reading of a proposed ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Webster City, Iowa, 2019 by amending Chapter 10, Article 6, Section 10-268 through 10-290 pertaining to vacant and abandoned property.
So this is something that the Planning and Zoning Commission has been recommending and investigating for over the past year. We currently do have an ordinance in place that is involving vacant buildings, but it's only in the commercial districts, C2, C3, and then also industrial M1 and M2. So what Planning and Zoning Commission is recommending is to put into place a new vacant building ordinance that's a little bit more robust. The current ordinance that we have has left some room for building owners to continue to have their buildings vacant. So they're just looking for a new robust ordinance. So it would repeal and replace our current ordinance. And then also we would be looking to adopt a program that requires they register the vacant building with the city. That does have a registration fee, and it's a tiered fee. So as the years go on, the fee gets larger. Hoping that we are getting these buildings that are sitting vacant and underutilized back into use. With that registration, if they register as a vacant building, they also are required to submit a plan of action to how they're going to reoccupy that building. It opens it up for an inspection as well. So we would be able to make sure that the buildings are safe and up to code. It requires that the property owner, if they are seeking to sell the property, it is not more than 25% of what it's actually assessed at, so that they're not just sitting with a property on the market for something that's a triple price tag than what it's actually assessed at. This has been reviewed by the city attorney, both the program and the ordinance. So the recommendation tonight, there is no financial implications at this time. Over time, it could generate revenue for this vacant building registry. So the recommendation tonight is approve the first reading of the ordinance.
Questions? Call for motion.
Approved. Second.
All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
J is to consider recommendation from Planning and Zoning Commission for rental inspection program and direct city staff and to hold meetings with landlords prior to formal consideration of proposed ordinance.
This is another item that Planning and Zoning Commission has been researching, and they actually sat through a presentation from Iowa Inspector in regards to a rental inspection program and registration with the city. So tonight, what I'm looking for, I attached the ordinance and the program for your guys' review. The city attorney has reviewed both of these as well. Right now, if we have a complaint about a rental property, we really can't do anything in regards to the interior of the building. So when we get a complaint that there is maybe black mold or something growing, unless the landlord allows us into the property to review the property, we can't really enforce anything with the property maintenance. The only property maintenance we can enforce is the exterior of the building. Planning and zoning, as well as city staff, have identified several homes within Webster City that are dilapidated. And we feel that, and the commission feels that the housing is maybe not suitable or healthy for people to be living in. So their recommendation would be for us to adopt a rental inspection program and ordinance. But tonight, what my recommendation would be is for council to consider that recommendation from planning and zoning, but to direct us in how you would like us to go about scheduling these meetings prior with landlords so that we can hear their feedback before we adopt something that would be so effective to them.
In addition to gathering their feedback, I think one of the things we'd like to do in the next 12 months is, receive input from those that will be most affected by the program, i.e. the landlords, but also I think establish and identify how many rental units we have in the community. We really don't know how much of the housing stock is being rented. We get asked that a lot on, reviews by our bond counsel for going forward and issuing debt. We'll get asked about that from time to time on different grant applications or, some programs that might be available for rehab. So it would be helpful even, before the licensing program is potentially implemented by this body, that we at least request publicly and informally that there be some type of voluntary disclosure from owners who are renting property as to what we have in the city. That is somewhat separate from the actual license, but something that would be helpful to us.
I agree. And full disclosure, I own rental property, so there's some stuff there, just put that out there. But I love this idea because I think there's a lot more landlords in Webster City that do the right thing. I feel I'm one of them. I know there's several others that make a safe dwelling for families. So I have a young family with kids my age that they have kids the same age as mine living in one of them. I'm like, oh, I would hate, even say, I know all landlords don't necessarily think that way. They just want to get a renter in there. But so I was looking through this, some landlords might have 50 rental properties. I'm small potatoes for that, so like, is there a fee associated with each one of these inspections? I saw there's like a no-show fee, but would there be a flat fee?
There is. So there's separate fees. So the first fee would be the registration fee with the city. So the recommendation would be.
It's on the registration forms, not within the wording of the language.
Correct.
I see it now.
So,
But then also, another recommendation would be coming before you guys from planning and zoning is to outsource this to a inspection company to remove city staff from any conflict of interest that might be there. With that, the Iowa inspectors that we listened to a presentation, which we would also bring here and present to you guys if this is something that we go forward with. They have their own inspection fee that they handle on their own side of things. I believe he said it was $40 or $60 per unit. And that's just an inspection done between the landlord and the inspector on site. As far as the registration fee with Webster City, we'd be administering that here at City.
And the other thing I'd do is, like, I remember talking about this with the fire chief years ago, you know, and I always advocated for an opt-in opportunity too, because it sets you apart if you have a city licensed and inspected unit compared to someone who didn't. And that would then encourage the others to do so. Now, everyone's going to do that. Again, there's going to be some landlords that just don't care, you know, so then that maybe over time we make it mandatory. So I just, speaking as a landlord, I just want to be cautious that people have 400 units,
Right.
you know, and having to absorb this cost immediately. One, that's going to go straight to their tenant.
Yep.
You know, especially if they're doing the right thing anyway. So good things to have. I think you're right. The discussion with landlords would be good. They'll bring a lot more information than I do, but, you know, to the table. But I think you're going to have some that are all for it and some that are against it. But I do feel knowing how many rentals we have and making sure they're safe is paramount. So this would do that.
And with this too, the Planning and Zoning Commission is very well aware that this is going to be a program that takes time to roll out. It's not something that they're looking to adopt and start next month. It would be, you know, a year-long process with several meetings with the landlords, making sure that they're getting notifications, having the checklist of what's being inspected. And the first rollout would be basic life safety. Do you have the smoke detectors? Do you have the right of egress or the emergency exits? Do you have handrails where they should be installed? So it would be the basic life safety, and it would be a very broad process.
But I think, speaking to Councilor Welch, your point on the cost of the license, having the notice period to collect feedback from the landlords on just the regulations in general, and sort of, you know, up to, you know, 6 to 12 months in advance of when their leases might be renewing, they would be able to price that into their cost of operations going forward. So we're trying to be as inclusive as possible in terms of input into the regulation, and giving people a long runway in which to implement this, because we know, you know, there's going to be several properties affected in the community.
And I want to note that I'm saying that not to advocate for landlords, but for tenants.
Yeah.
Because that will immediately go into their, you know, and so I just see that cost instantly being absorbed by the tenant themselves instead of landlord, because they'll pass it through.
And with those fees too, so the annual registration fee would be, you know, obviously annual, but the inspection, how that would look, or how it's being proposed, is it would be every 3 years. So as long as they receive that certification that they had passed their inspection, they wouldn't get inspected for another 3 years. So that inspection fee would not take place yearly either.
I love this program, and I think it's needed, and I think it's great. Again, there's some what ifs and how is this going to work things, and it's great. We're rolling on this though. It's awesome, and I appreciate the work the planning is only doing this.
So we're going to have some work sessions.
I think it'd be helpful to see the presentation, the planning, something, so we can get more details of what this looks like.
Very good.
From the inspection.
Correct.
Okay. So we will get that scheduled. And be back with more information for you. Are you comfortable with us issuing a informal request to sort of self-identify?
Oh, yeah.
And perform some type of census of the rental units in the community?
Yeah.
Recognizing there's no punitive action associated with it, but provide notice to at least those that we are aware of. Or is that too preliminary right now, and
No.
you'd just like us to wait?
I think it's a good idea to get that information. But what does that even look like? Just like, hey, come let us know what if a rental property or properties being used as rental, come let us know who you are.
Yeah, so I think it's probably in my mind threefold. The first is, there's some that are obviously being rented, right? Whether those are apartment complexes in the community, maybe upper story housing in the downtown that we know are being used for rentals, or just properties that in the course of action by the community development department they've run across. So that's one, just notifying folks that we know or likely know are renting properties through a letter explaining that it's voluntary, and we're happy to provide a copy of that letter before it goes out so you can review it. Secondly, I think we can utilize our daily publication here, the Daily Freeman Journal, to just announce that we're performing this, in lack of a better term, census of rental properties in the community. And then third, we can use the local radio station as well to request that people voluntarily, if they're serving as landlords or renting property, come forward. Not everybody will do so. We know that we do have some out-of-town landowners that are renting, but that will become more clear as we take some steps forward here. And again, if that step is uncomfortable to you all, we don't need to do that now, but it would help us move in the direction as we are simultaneously sitting around with the landlords and getting their input on this regulation before you take up this ordinance for formal adoption, because I suspect there will be questions from them.
I think it makes sense to start that process.
Yep.
And you're giving them the opportunity to self-identify and give feedback from the beginning versus 6 months in when they're wanting to have a voice and they never did.
Yeah.
Provide details.
Yeah. And if if at this time, if there's any council members that would like to be specifically either notified or sit in as sort of the council rep on whatever landlord group we develop for input into the ordinance before we move forward, you can either let Ariel and I know now, or, let us know after the meeting. So.
Very good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ariel. Zach, what have you got for us tonight?
Real quick. So as you guys are aware, my report's from November, so fake that I was gone the first meeting in December, so you're getting it late. So 614 First Street, the development agreement, we prepared that with Habitat Construction. I believe that's supposed to be tore down by the end of the year. As the city is doing their reconstruction of 90 or 69 kV lines, we were asked to negotiate an agreement with Union Pacific. DGR, who's the engineer for the city, asked us to get involved in that. I think if you read my memo, you would see that UP was asking for $183,000, and we negotiated it down to $2,500. So it would be, and then 906 Bell Avenue, you are now the new property owner of that one as well. So when you do your self-assessment on landlords, you will be one of the ones that need to. You're the largest landowner in the city or cities.
As long as we're not renting it to somebody who's not paying, you're fine.
Yeah.
One more item before moving to closed session. I would just like to publicly recognize Carol Bonger tonight, as this is her last meeting serving as city clerk. Carol is a model of professionalism to that position, has really demonstrated just the highest level of performance in her field and her commitment to the duties of this office. It's been a joy serving alongside her in my brief time serving with her, but I want to thank her for her assistance in transitioning me to this position, as well as wish her the best of wishes in retirement. So congratulations, Carol. Service done well is always something to just be lauded, and you certainly achieved the highest level of that. So thank you from the staff's perspective on your service here.
Thank you. Closed session, meet in closed session to discuss the purchase or sale of particular real estate only where premature disclosure could be reasonably expected to increase the price governmental body would have to pay for that property, or reduce the price governmental body would have to receive for that property as provided by Chapter 21.5J of the Code of Iowa.
Closed session.